Reijnders, Ait-Nouri, Cherki. The new look Man City team is scary.
I'm really happy.
I'm very, very happy.
I'm very excited.
Those three players, whenever he decides to include them, you just feel that it's about making City better.
Add in the guys they got in January like Marmoush, along with the established stars like Haaland and Rodri, and you realize the squad is stacked.
This is a match in heaven for Manchester City right now. There are three big statements for City in this transfer window. That is a generational change at Manchester City, and that is a new thing. Manchester City are here to stay.
City are not playing around. They want to win everything again. They had one season of not winning and realized they don't want to turn into Arsenal.
Edison invented.
The 2025 season was a season of survival. It seemed like every weekend, someone new was beating them.
The season start difficult, will be difficult all season. So you have to survive, it's a season to survive.
It was clear that investments were needed. Fresh legs were required. And the first area that needed a buff was the midfield. And that's where Reijnders comes in. City finally have their Gundogan replacement. Look at their stats on Data MB. They are practically identical. Similar ball carrying, forward passes, key passes, progressive passes. When Gundogan left after the treble-winning season, City never replaced him. Now, it's tough to replace a player of that quality, but they didn't even look for the same profile. So when Gundogan returned, he was his own replacement. Except now he was a few years older, and not the same guy that we saw dunk on United. Well, Reijnders is like pulling out the time machine and getting Dortmund Gundogan. He can play as a 6, as an 8, a 10, all at a very high level. I mean, the poor guy got 15 goals in all competitions for a very subpar Milan side. These guys finished 9th, yet Reijnders continued to push them forward. He would go on these nice individual runs where he would carry the ball all the way to the opposition box, and he would either set up someone else or score it himself. So that goal scoring presence that Gundogan provided before, Reijnders will now offer the same thing. If you guys are ever bored, just go and watch his performance against Real Madrid in the Champions League. That game showed all of his qualities. A goal, an assist, he ran the show. If you can sign a player who can get you out of danger at the back, can dictate the tempo of the match in the middle, and carry the ball past multiple players in the final third, then you have got yourself a special player. With Rodri behind him, he will have the freedom to push forward. And as you can see from the clips I've been showing you guys, this guy will punish you. Look at his goal against Spain in the Nations League. He starts to play from his own end, and he ends up also being the guy that ends the play. What a wonderful finish, by the way. This is so easy to hit over. Having a midfielder who can dictate the play from deep and score is a luxury that not many teams can afford. And now City have a guy who can do it all for just 55 million euros. Don't be fooled by his nice hair and silky touch. Yes, he can glide past people, but he also gives you production. And in a time where City were sometimes fielding a midfield three of Rico Lewis, Bernardo Silva, and Gundogan, a signing like this was desperately needed. In fact, Pep had tried to rejuvenate the midfield all the way back in the winter of 2025. That's why he brought in Nico Gonzalez, because the drop-off after Rodri got injured was insane. People already knew how important he was. He missed 3 games in 2024, and City lost all 3. There's a reason he won the Ballon d'Or. So when he got injured, there was no replacement. He was irreplaceable, not just because of his talent, but because there was literally nobody else at the time who could play in his position. Nobody else who could play as the sole pivot, let alone someone who could score and defend the way Rodri was doing before he got injured. And the senior players like Bernardo and Gundogan, they were unks. Even in their prime, they weren't holding midfielders. But now they didn't even have the legs to be able to dominate every week anymore. Well, that's why Nico Mini Rodri Gonzalez was brought in.
Remember, like a mini Rodri.
Hopefully Pep will actually play him more, because he looked really good against Newcastle and then was barely used after. Maybe he didn't want to risk a new player in his system while City were trying to fight for a Champions League spot. I don't know. But what I can see is that he has all the tools needed to be a very good holding midfielder. The other position that desperately needed an upgrade was the left back spot, hence the purchase of Ait-Nouri. Now, City did not have a ton of depth in that position. They were using Guardiola and Ake there, with Nico O'Reilly getting some more opportunities towards the back end of the 2025 season. It seems to me that Pep is going back to traditional fullbacks. In 2023, he started playing center backs at fullback to solidify the defense against counters. Now, it worked. The 4 center back line was a big reason why they won the treble. But as usual, football evolves, and Pep is evolving with it. Ait-Nouri is what the modern day fullback used to look like. He's phenomenal on the ball. Seriously, look at him dribbling. He plays like a futsal player. player. His ball control is as tight as a nun. He played as a left wing back in Wolves' 5-back system, so he isn't some lockdown defender, but he was one of Wolves' best players in the 2025 season. He was their most creative player, with the most touches in the attacking third and the most assists on the team. He had 12 goals and assists in all competitions, which is quite impressive given that Wolves spent the bulk of the season fighting relegation. When Matheus Cunha was injured, Ait-Nouri stepped up. Wolves won 6 games in a row during that period. He scored and assisted in a win against Tottenham and then created 5 chances against Ipswich. His left foot crosses and his fast runs down the left side caused problems for every opponent in the Premier League. In fact, only 10 players in the Premier League tried more dribbles than him. And that's because Ait-Nouri isn't a typical wingback. He's very technical, he can use both feet, and he can actually play well in a variety of different positions. He was playing through the middle when he assisted Cunha against Chelsea. He was floating around when he made his smart pass against Tottenham. He's even played as a number 10 before under his old manager Gary O'Neill. Think of him as a Algerian Joao Cancelo, creative, tricky, and very good in tight spaces. He can play out wide or even in the midfield if he has to. Maybe Pep is bringing back the inverted fullback. Also, by having an actual left back, Guardiola can go back to center back. I know the guy has scored some lovely goals and he's great going forward,
Guardiola tries the shot, scores the goal!
but in my opinion, center back is his best position. For Man City, Ait-Nouri brings a lot of energy and much needed creativity. And we all know what happened the last time City had a creative Algerian on their team.
How beautiful was that from the dancing Algerian?
The only worry for him will be his focus on defense. But on a better team and on a team that holds the ball more, maybe that won't be as big of an issue. Now, speaking of creativity, it's time to talk about the man who looks like he has shawarmas as his pre-game meal, Cherki.
Cherki rate bill is
35 million euros.
35 million. When you consider, we're not saying he's on the level of Wirtz. Wirtz is obviously way ahead of him, but potentially this guy is an unbelievable player, right? For 35 million.
His physique and work rate must be the only reasons nobody else has gone in for him, because this guy is about as naturally gifted as you can get in a footballer. He's a baller, I don't know what else to say. The ball sticks to his feet. He can use both feet. He doesn't rely on pace and power, just footballing intelligence and fantastic ball control. One of the most technically gifted footballers I've ever seen. By now you have probably seen on social media everyone glazing him for how good he played against Spain. Man came on as a sub and did more damage than the best player in the world, Dembele, and Kylian Mbappe. His first 2 passages of play was a threaded pass to Barcola on the left, where there were about 5 Spain guys around him, and then a first time pass to Dembele that opened up space for the French. Immediately, the team looked more fluid when he came on. Look at this 1-2 that he almost pulled off. It gives you a glimpse of what this guy can do. He's very creative. He's always looking to create something. Here he is carving out 8 players with just 1 pass. But sadly, Dembo's missed it. Imagine this pass to Marmoush or Holland. Let's just say there wouldn't be any blood left in my brain. The crazy thing is that on top of these wonderful passages of play, he also scored a banger against Spain. As I told you guys, his technique is flawless. He even bullied Manchester United in the Europa League. People will try and run this narrative that Pep ruins creative players, and it's just not true. Okay, things didn't work out for Jack Grealish, but he still won a treble. He was still important for City. Just because one guy didn't succeed or fulfill his true potential doesn't mean that one of the greatest managers of all time is limiting creative players. Cherki will be given the freedom to do whatever he wants to in that attacking midfield role. With Rodri and Reijnders behind him, his job will be to do his best to fill the void that is left without Kevin De Bruyne. Hopefully he doesn't have too many bad games though, because then they're gonna start calling him Beef Cherki, one of the craziest slander names I've ever heard. What should get City fans even more excited is that Cherki isn't the only super talented young player looking to make an impact at City. The Blues also have Echeverri, who we saw make a brief cameo in the FA Cup final. The Argentine's creativity and dribbling means that Pep has access to another player that can create something out of nothing. Naturally, given his age and playstyle, he might need some time to adapt, but this is a player who was fantastic for River Plate. There was so much hype around him in South America. He can score, but he can also find a pass. And he has all the qualities needed to become a key player for this Manchester City team. Just imagine Cherki and Echeverri along with Reijnders feeding passes to Marmoush and Holland. My balls are tingling just imagining it. That's what makes this City team so good, is that the new faces are going to complement the established guys really well.
And comparably speaking to other investments that other clubs have made, there's potential for this to be positive for Manchester City in the end.
Holland's injuries affected how Manchester City attacked in the 2024 season, but even when he wasn't fully fit, he still scored so many goals and almost won the Golden Boot. People forget that this guy is a robot. Most strikers would sell their left nut to have a season of 20 plus goals. And yet for Haaland, it's considered a bad season. We saw what he can do in 2023 and 2024 when he was getting regular service. If he stays healthy and keeps his confidence, he makes City's attack so much more dangerous.
That's why I'm here. Exactly this.
And now there are so many different players that can create for him. On the wings, he's going to be supplied by Doku and Savinho, two players who are very fast and direct, something that City had sometimes missed. Both of these guys can beat their man, both of them cause headaches for defenders. Let's just hope Pep plays both of them more, because the two of them can create so much magic. And then we have Marmoush, the best Egyptian in the Premier League. I'm joking, of course. He hit the ground running as soon as he arrived in Manchester. Whether it was his hat-trick against Newcastle or his long shot that won goal of the season.
Here's Marmoush, long-range effort. Oh my goodness!
He reminded people that not all top talents from the Bundesliga are farmers. His versatility is huge for Pep because he can play him up top by himself. He can play him as one of the number 10s like he did against Chelsea. We saw the spaces that his movement can create. Look at his runs dragging Reece James away from the flank, which created acres of space for Guardiola. Like Guardiola could have put down a tent, some marshmallows. That's how much time and space he had. Then there was another moment where Kovacic tried to find Marmoush but overhit the pass. But take a look at Haaland's reaction. He was applauding the attempt as a way of motivating the City midfielders to keep looking for the two of them in behind. That directness was something that was needed for City desperately, because in certain matches they were just playing too slow, too much possession without a purpose. That won't happen now when you have players that are direct like Marmoush and Haaland. And of course, Rodri will also be back.
Hey, but Rodri's coming back. I thought Rodri was the difference to everything.
Now I feel like we need to manage our expectations for him. He's coming back after a year of being out with a vicious injury. So as excited as people should be that he's here, we gotta remember that it's not gonna be Ballon d'Or Rodri all over again. Now you might be looking at City's team and wondering to yourself, how the hell are these guys able to spend so much? Does financial fair play just not apply to them? You see, they have spent a lot, but they're essentially making up for a few years of not spending at all. Everyone looks at their total spending instead of net. This is Pep Guardiola's net spend since arriving at Manchester City, and these figures include the money that they spent in January of 2025 for Husanov, Vitor Reis, and Marmoush. They have a sustainable model, and after years of just selling and using the same winning group, they are finally investing. I think the 2024 winning campaign fooled the club that they could keep going with the same core. After all, why change a winning formula? But even in that season, cracks were starting to show. And in 2025, those cracks were busted open. Pause. But the thing you have to keep in mind is that every great team has had down years. Klopp's Liverpool has had it. Even Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United went through it, finishing third in back-to-back seasons in 2004 and 2005. So honestly, it's a bit surprising that it took this long for Manchester City to hit that bump. Because when you win everything year after year, how do you stay hungry? How do you keep that fire burning? Maybe that's why the tough season was a blessing in disguise. It reminded City and their fans that winning the Premier League is not easy. It's never guaranteed. City just made it look so simple for so long, turning the hardest league in the world into the Farmers League. I mean, at this point, winning the Premier League with City was like losing your virginity to a prostitute. But now, they've been humbled. Sorry, Haaland. But it might be the best thing that could have happened, because the pieces are still there. The mix of experienced leaders, exciting new signings, and young stars is a recipe for City to come back dominating. Rodri is back. Haaland is healthy. Foden can hopefully remember how to play football again. The squad is still elite. And on top of that, City still have their strongest asset, Pep Guardiola. If history tells us anything, it's this: do not bet against the crazy bald man. Back in his first season with Manchester City in 2016-2017, he finished third. Everybody questioned him. They said that English football was too much for him. But the very next year, he responded with a 100-point season, breaking records and rewriting what dominance looks like in the Premier League. The same thing happened after City lost the title to Liverpool in 2020. Instead of sulking, Pep rebuilt, and City stormed back to win the league in 2021. That's the thing with Guardiola. He learns, he adapts. In fact, 99% of the time, he's actually ahead of the meta. So while many people might have wondered if the magic was fading, it hasn't. In fact, Pep even signed a new contract. He's not done. And that should be all the reassurance that Man City fans needed. Because remember, even amongst one of their worst seasons, they still clinched Champions League football and made it to the FA Cup final. It shows you the standards. Pep's worst season is many managers' best season. Yes, the 2024-2025 season might go down as one of the hardest chapters in Pep Guardiola's book of Manchester City, but it might also be one of the most important, because you can't reach greatness without struggle. You need darkness to truly appreciate the light, as cliche as that might sound. And while City look ahead to what's next, unfortunately, one legend won't be a part of that future. Kevin De Bruyne. His time has ended, but his legacy is forever. The greatest midfielder to ever play in England. To see why, you gotta watch this video right here.